All right, welcome to week 14. This week our topic is Homeland Security, which focuses on the effort to protect domestic homelands from terrorist threats. Obviously, this sort of vernacular is peculiar to the United States. Martin begins a chapter with the important revelations of June and July of 2013 that the National Security Agency, the NSA, which is the primary agency in the intelligence community responsible for SIGINT, or signals intelligence, that they had been engaged in data mining of US and European telephone metadata and internet surveillance. It was around this time that German Chancellor Angela Merkel found out that her phone had been effectively mined, and that kind of threw a monkey wrench in Germany and Merkel's relationship with the United States and with Barack Obama. Another story on the heels of those revelations alleged an even more robust collection system, X-Keyscore, capable of collecting real-time data on chat rooms, browsing history, social networking, media, and email. These revelations were made possible by Edward Snowden, who had been a contractor for Booz Allen that was employed by the NSA. He got a bunch of that material that, in terms of substantiating these claims, and the stories initially ran in The Guardian, and then ultimately the Washington Post. This opening story really suggests that Homeland Security is, operates as a kind of double-edged sword. On the one hand, Americans want to be safe, and they want the federal government to adopt policies and empower law enforcement to identify and interdict potential terrorist threats before they happen whenever possible, and to react swiftly when they do occur. On the other hand, many Americans are deeply concerned that these kinds of aggressive efforts to identify and remove threats involve the steady erosion of civil liberties. So we have the challenges associated or innate to identifying a happy median between a quiescent Homeland Security apparatus and a dangerously empowered Homeland Security apparatus that, may morph into a Gestapo-like or an authoritarian secret police-like, secretive and intrusive kind of entity that could, slide us towards authoritarianism. So this material is very important. We foreign policy scholars often describe the Department of Defense as the 800-pound gorilla of the foreign policy establishment, meaning obviously the DoD is huge, it has a huge budget, and it wields disproportionate influence over the shape and scope of foreign policy. Potentially, the Department of Homeland Security is another 800-pound gorilla, particularly as it relates to the law enforcement community. The potential reach of DHS over issues related to immigration, protection of the energy grid, narcotics control, and transportation security, just to name a few potential threat vectors, is really significant. And DHS has significant intergovernmental reach as well in coordinating federal, state, and local law enforcement in terms of how, incident response, for example, is managed. But they also, do a ton of training of state and local officials as well in terms of identifying terrorist threats and getting those threats reported up to the proper levels. There are three principal issues addressed in this chapter. Martin takes some time initially to analyze the context surrounding the term Homeland Security, the 9/11/2001 attacks that gave rise to the perceived need for a federal agency dedicated to protecting the homeland. Second, this chapter focuses on Homeland Security in the United States and how heightened threats of both domestic and international terrorism altered federal laws directing counter and anti-terrorism policies. And the third section of chapter 14 extends the analysis of that opening story and recognizes that protecting the homeland requires significant balancing acts between security and personal freedom. This week we just have the two weekly assignments, the forum and the quiz. Let's focus on this material this week and really knock those assignments out of the park. If there's anything in this chapter that you don't understand, let's clear it up in the forum. I would also ask you to consider reading the assigned reading for the short writing assignment that's due at the end of the semester. It's due in week 16, but it wouldn't hurt you to read it now so that you can think about how best to execute the writing part of the assignment. All right, let's have a great week.